first of all, we're saying that they're obligated to provide food to students who pay for a meal plan here. Do you want students to die of dehydration and starvation or get severely ill?
They're literally protesting against Columbia. And oh, by the way, Columbia should be feeding us. All right, we go from some heroic college kids who are doing the right thing on campus, from tearing down the encampment at Arizona State University to protecting the building on the campus of Columbia University to saving the American flag from destruction on University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. We turn from those great guys to the dirtbags who were leading these protests, these riots, these illegal activities at Columbia University. They held a press conference. Think about that for a minute. These kids are violating the law on a daily basis, and they're holding a press conference. And just wait till you hear what their demands are.
Why should the university be obligated to provide food to people who've taken over a building?
Well, first of all, we're saying that they're obligated to provide food to students who pay for a meal plan here.
But you mentioned that there was a request that food and water be brought in, unless I misunderstood.
To allow it to be brought in. I mean, well, I guess it's ultimately a question of what kind of community and obligation Columbia feels it has to its students. Do you want students to die of dehydration and starvation or get severely ill, even if they disagree with you? If the answer is no, then you should allow basic, I mean, it's crazy to say because we're on an Ivy League campus, but this is like basic humanitarian aid we're asking for. Like, could people please have a glass of water?
But they did put themselves in that very deliberately in that situation and in that position. So it seems like you're sort of saying, we want to be revolutionaries, we want to take over this building. Now, would you please bring us food and water?
Nobody's asking them to bring anything. We're asking them to not violently stop us from bringing in basic humanitarian aid.
They're stopping the delivery of food.
We are looking for a commitment from them that they will not stop it
but
violently.
They haven't stopped it yet.
I don't know to what extent it has been attempted, but we're looking for a commitment.
This is like chef's kiss perfection. This is so pristine. May I pull a Larry on this and break it down a bit, piece by piece? Let's begin with her first demand that, hey, we paid for the meal plan. By the way, honey, I doubt you paid for it. Mommy and daddy did. Maybe grandma and grandpa, trust fund, not sure. But we paid for a meal plan. Where's our food?
Why should the university be obligated to provide food to people who've taken over a building?
Now, I don't know if you've heard the reporter because it's off mic, but it's a great question. I want to know who this reporter is. Why should the university be obligated to provide you food when you have taken over the campus in violation of the school's rules? Good question.
Well, first of all, we're saying that they're obligated to provide food to students who pay for a meal plan here.
But you mentioned that
they're obligated. So I don't know if it's been a while since you've been in college or if you've sent your kids to college. My kid's in university right now, and we pay for his meal plan. And here's how the meal plan works. You go to the cafeteria or whatever sort of little restaurant type food location they've got set up on campus. You get your food. You swipe your card that daddy is paid for, and that goes off of your meal plan. There's nothing stopping them from doing that. Just go to where the food is provided and use your meal card. Of course, they don't want to leave their encampment because they're afraid they might get arrested. So now they're angry because they want Columbia to bring them food. They want their protest against the man, their insurrection, to be catered by the people they're rioting against. Understand something. Everybody thinks that this is an anti-Israel protest or a pro-Palestinian protest. No. This is a protest against Columbia University. People are missing sight of this. The whole reason they are out there, they claim, is that they want Columbia University to divest from Israel. They want them to remove all of their investments from their big fat endowment from any company that is associated with the state of Israel. Because, of course, they hate Jews and they're anti-Semites. So they're literally protesting against Columbia. We hate Columbia. And oh, by the way, Columbia should be feeding us because we paid for our meal plan. Nothing stopping you from getting food on the meal plan. Get off your lazy ass from your little pup tent, go to where the food is, and get your food. But they're afraid to do that because they might get arrested.
There was a request that food and water be brought in, unless I misunderstood.
To allow it to
So the reporter said, well, where our understanding is you want food and water to be brought into you. Is that correct?
be brought in. I mean, well, I guess it's ultimately a question of what kind of community and obligation Columbia feels it has to its students. Do you want students to die of dehydration and starvation or get severely ill?
Hold on. Is that an option? Are you asking rhetorically? Because, I mean, if that's an option, that might be a way to get them off campus. So she's guilting the Columbia University administration, who she's protesting against, by the way. She's guilting them. Do you want us to starve out here? I mean, what kind of Well, no, I don't want you to starve. I've got an idea. Why don't you get your ass up and leave? How dare you? How dare you not provide us food and water? What do you want us to do? If that's the option, we might take it. Door number 2, please.
Even if they disagree with you, if the answer is no, then you should allow basic, I mean, it's crazy to say because we're on an Ivy League campus, but this is like basic humanitarian aid we're asking for. Like,
you know who else is asking for basic humanitarian treatment? The hostages that Hamas is holding and has held for 7 months now. They would love to have the problems this chick has. The people that she is supporting and elevating and celebrating on a daily basis in her illegal protest are actually holding over 200 innocent Israelis and Americans hostage, treating them in the most inhumanitarian way. And now she's demanding humanitarian aid for her and her rich, elite Ivy League college students who are sleeping outside by their own volition. And now they're not. This is just, we want basic humanity. How about some basic humanity for the hostages? Can we start there? How about you advocate for that, and then maybe we'll throw you a bottle of water. Or we'll throw it at you.
could people please have a glass of water?
But they did put themselves in that very deliberately in that situation and in that position. So it seems like you're sort of saying, we want to be revolutionaries. We want to take over this building. Now, would you please bring us food? All
right. Did you hear that? I really want to know who this reporter is. The reporter just said, well, they've kind of put themselves in this position voluntarily, right? See, it sounds like you're saying, we want to be revolutionaries. Now, please bring us some food. It's so great. And look at her face as she realizes how ridiculous this all sounds. Look at her face right now as the cognitive dissonance of who she is, what she stands for, what she's asking for, and what her behavior has done is all falling around her. Look at her face as she recognizes what a trap she has laid for herself. And this reporter has showed a spotlight on it. And now listen to how she rationalizes all of it.
Water.
Nobody's asking them to bring anything.
Actually, that's exactly what they're asking.
We're asking them to not violently stop us from bringing in basic humanitarian.
So now it's don't violently stop. And of course, there's been no violence against them. Don't violently stop us from bringing food. Do you realize how in just a minute and 5 seconds, the demands have changed radically? Now the demand is don't violently stop us from bringing in our own food and water. And the next reporter is going to ask, have they violently stopped you from bringing in your own food and water? And watch the answer.
In aid.
They're stopping the delivery of food.
We are looking for a commitment from them that they will not stop it.
But
violently.
they haven't stopped it yet.
I don't know to what extent it has been attempted, but we're looking for a commitment.
So it's too good. So it immediately shifts to, we're just asking them to not violently stop us from bringing food and water in. Well, have they violently stopped you from bringing water in? Well, we're looking for a commitment from them that they won't violently stop us from bringing food and water in. Okay, but they haven't done it yet. I don't know to what extent, but we're just looking for a commitment. And just so you know, this woman is now on the short list of most Democrat congressmen and women and senators to be one of their chief staffers as soon as this whole thing is over. I assure you, this woman is going places. We will be contending with her. She may be the next AOC in a couple of years. And you just saw the brilliance of her position. Meanwhile, another one of them actually talked to Fox and Friends this morning.
How do you feel about them taking over the building right now?
I think that their cause is a just cause, and I hope that the administration really hears their demands. I think they're just demands.
Do you feel like it was right to hold 3 of the janitor workers hostage inside of the building?
I think that's a really false narrative.
That's what the janitors are saying, that they weren't allowed to leave.
I think that that's a really false narrative.
Even if the janitors are saying that, you're saying that that's not true.
I think that it's a really false narrative that the students took anyone hostage.
How do you feel about
honestly, I weep. And Lawrence is doing a great job here, just sort of maintaining his cool. But repeat it over and over. It's a false narrative. It's a false. So the janitors say they weren't allowed to leave. It's a false narrative. So you're saying they're lying. It's just a false narrative. And that's all you got. And then they are either programmed to deliver propaganda or they are brain dead. Possibly both. I always leave open the opportunity that it could be both. But this is an Ivy League student. And boy, she's really showing her intelligence and her basic wisdom.
Some of the Jewish students saying that they don't feel safe here on campus.
I think that this is also a really false narrative that's being promoted.
Do you think October 7th and the attack that happened is a false narrative? Do you believe that some of the women were raped?
Holly just came back.
So this is what happened.
Could you get out of my face, please?
So this is what you see at these protests. Once you get into the nitty gritty of what happened on October the 7th, the rape of women, what's happening there, they deny what happened. As you know, that is actually factual now, that the janitorial workers were blocked inside of the building. And anytime you bring that up, the Jewish cause, the Jewish people, the kids that feel unsafe on campus, they deny the reality of it.
They sure do, because it's a false narrative, everybody. Last night, Donald Trump, New Yorker, watching his city get destroyed under Democrat leadership and Democrat management, he called into Hannity.
What is your reaction to the news unfolding?
Well, it's just such a sad thing to see, Sean. When you look at this, it's not even believable. If you go back a year or go back 3 or 4 or 5 years ago, this would not even be possible to think about. Nobody would be thinking this could happen. You look at the anti-Semitism, the hatred of Israel by so many people. You go back 10 years, I mean, Israel was protected by Congress, and now Congress is just doing numbers that are unbelievable with, I think, a very, very small group of people within Congress, and it's got to stop. But we have to go back to the roots. We have to protect. We have to stop the anti-Semitism that's just pervading our country right now, and Biden has to do something. Biden is supposed to be the voice of our country, and it's certainly not much of a voice. It's a voice that nobody's heard. And look, I don't think he's able to do it. I don't think he's got what it takes to do it. But he's got to. He's got to strengthen up, and he's got to be heard.
Well, look, I never thought, Mr. President, in my lifetime that I'd hear, anti-Semitism in the halls of Congress. I mean, I never thought we'd be witnessing and hearing chants of death to America, death to Israel on college campus after college campus after college campus. I never thought we'd see this in our lifetime. I thought never again meant never again. But never again seems to be unfolding before our eyes. From the river to the sea, death to America, death to Israel, calls for intifada. This is a frightening time for our country. And in a state like New York that has changed dramatically from the state that we grew up in, now these students that'll be arrested, they'll be released within hours, probably the charges dropped, and there'll be no consequences, which will only embolden them. Your thoughts?
Well, I really think you have a lot of paid agitators, professional agitators in here, too. And I see it all over. And, when you see signs and they're all identical, that means they're being paid by a source. These aren't hand-painted signs where people would go to their basement and paint something because they really believed it. These are all signs that are identical. They're made by the same printer. And, you know, when you see that, that means there's somebody at top that's paying or a group that's paying. And they're doing great disservice to the world, but they're doing great disservice to our country. But when you look at New York in a state like this, but look at other cities, it's not a lot different. It's frankly worse in some places than it is right now in New York. And I think the New York City's finest have been incredible. The way they've been, it's not over yet, but the way they walked in and the way they climbed through that window, they were not afraid of anything. And it looks like they've got it maybe clamped down, but it should never have gotten to this, and they should have done it a lot sooner than before they took over the building, because it would have been a lot easier if they were in tents rather than a building.
Yeah. So, and he said, where's the president? Where's Joe Biden? Where is Joe Biden? Joe Biden, the man who ran in 2020 as the great healer and the great uniter, that we want to put all the chaos and anger and violence in the streets behind us. Remember all the violence in the streets that were perpetrated by Democrat activists with Black Lives Matter? Oh, yeah. When you donated to Black Lives Matter, the money all went through Act Blue, which is a Democrat fundraising engine. And then Black Lives Matter doled out that money to various Democrat candidates to help them win the election. So that was all a campaign operation, basically. So Joe Biden, after all that violence and all the anger and all the histrionics, he said, elect me. I'm going to calm things down. I'm going to unite us all. We got to put these ugly days behind us. And now it's even worse than it was before. And these are his people. These are his people. Nobody can say that any of these protests lean to the right. These are not MAGA fascists, guys, right? These are all people who have aligned themselves with Rashida Tlaib and Ilhan Omar and the Squad and Nancy Pelosi. They do their bidding. And where is Joe Biden? He's silent. He's saying nothing. You see, the left loves these things. But the problem is, this is starting to hurt him now. And he's terrified. Because if he shows some leadership and actually tries to demonstrate to middle-of-the-road, moderate, regular Americans who hate seeing this happening in this country, then he's going to tick off Rashida Tlaib and tick off the activists and tick off the radicals. And it's all about this, baby. It's all about this right here. You know what this is? This isn't my hand. This is Michigan. This is what, those of us who are from Michigan, this is how we call our state. Where are you from in Michigan? Well, I was born right here, used to vacation up here. You know, Hillsdale's right down here. We love Hillsdale. That's Michigan, and this is all about Michigan. Because someone's whispered in this man's ear, Rashida Tlaib, that if he takes Israel's side and is against the pro-terrorist, pro-Hamas protesters that are tearing down our college campuses right now, that he's going to lose Michigan. And if he loses Michigan, he loses the country. But guess what? They're wrong. The vast majority of American people are on Israel's side in the conflict over in the Middle East, and they hate what they're seeing on our college campuses right now. That's why you're not hearing from Joe Biden. They're keeping him in a box. There's nothing that he can possibly say. And one other thing, shot through the lens of presidential politics, that whole, I'm a uniter, we have to solve the problem of the chaos. All the chaos is because Trump's in the White House. Trump's a madman. Trump's chaotic. Chaos follows him everywhere he goes. He's not decent. Vote for me. I'm decent. I'm a grown-up. I'm not going to let this stuff happen anymore. Throw it all out the window. A huge part of the argument he made, a return to normalcy, remember? It's all gone. It's all out the window. It's all in the trash can. It's shot through the shredder. It's sitting there rotting away in that stack of documents of classified material in his garage right now. That's where that argument is. It ain't going anywhere. He ain't going to use it. He couldn't possibly use it because things are even more chaotic now than they were under Donald Trump. And it's because of Joe Biden, because this is how they got their power in the first place. When you look at New York and Mayor Eric Adams, who also, by the way, rode to power on the idea of Black Lives Matter, and he's one of those, and he used to be a cop, so he's the best one to reform the police, and the police are the problem. Well, earlier today, he actually echoed what Donald Trump said last night, that these are all outside agitators, and they are, through an organized, well-financed, well-funded program, have sown this chaos in his city, in New York.
I just really want to thank Commissioner Weiner. She was the one that was monitoring the situation when I first started seeing the protests take place in the city. It just did not fit right. I saw similar indicators from the Black Lives Matters March when it was brought to my attention that there were those who came to the city to disrupt our city, and she was able, through her team, was able to conduct an investigation, and what I feared was actually materialized and actualized by those who are on the ground. And I know that there are those who are attempting to say, well, the majority of people may have been students. You don't have to be the majority to influence and co-op an operation. That is what this is about. And so if we want to play the word police, you could do so. I want to play the New York City police, where we're going to protect our city from those who are attempting to do what is happening globally. There is a movement to radicalize young people, and I'm not going to wait until it's done and all of a sudden acknowledge the existence of it. This is a global problem that young people are being influenced by those who are professionals at radicalizing our children. And I'm not going to allow that to happen as the mayor of the city of New York.
Now, I just want you to know that during the Black Lives Matters and the Antifa marches of 2020 that I just described, that were designed, remember how we weren't allowed to leave our houses during the pandemic, but as soon as it became a Black Lives Matter protest, riot, and Antifa burn down the city kind of protest, then it's fine. Because, you know, hey, the pandemic doesn't affect people if their politics are Democrat and left wing. And during that whole time, if I said what the mayor just said about how this is a global effort to radicalize students and it's well-funded and well-organized with outside agitators instigating all of this across state lines that should be investigated by the FBI and the Justice Department, because this truly is a RICO situation, when you're funding and organizing criminal behavior across state lines, that is the job of the FBI. If I said that, my account would be deleted on social media. I'd be censored. I'd be told, I'd be fact-checked by PolitiFact and Snopes. There's no evidence to suggest that. This is a conspiracy theory. But now here we are, 4 years later, and Eric Adams is saying it from the position of the mayor's office. By the way, speaking of the mayor's office, is it me, Kevin? Or did Mayor Adams actually deliver these remarks on my set? Was he in our studio?
Oh my gosh, it's identical, that panel.
What is happening? I mean, we've got better lighting, but...
Yeah, look at that.
Is he trying to do his own Larry show? This is disturbing.
You think he'll tell us about Birch Gold Group soon?
No, God, Birch Gold wouldn't have anything to do with it. He's part of the problem. All right. We should add an American flag, actually, now that I think about it. That's hardly a good look. These are the people who are destroying our college campuses, and make no mistake about it, this is a trial run. They're going to try to destroy our cities. Between now and Election Day, these protests and these encampments that are happening on college campuses, they will begin to take root in the major city square of the big city you live near, if you're in a city or a state that's run by Democrats. That's my prediction. And, well, I'm pretty confident with it because we've seen it every election year for the last 3 election cycles. Donald Trump made some pretty important remarks there. And it's good that this is shot through the lens of presidential politics. Who would you rather have as president right now at a time like this? And who is more on the side of law and order and bringing decency back to this country? I think it seems pretty clear.